Matter of fact, I was talking to a guy the other day, and we were talking about the difference in Ohio State pre-Urban Meyer was they had the old Big Ten. Now they have the big, powerful linemen, the fast wide receivers, the dual threat quarterbacks that actually throw the ball effectively, and they have speedy wide receivers, and they have a speedy defense. He's brought that there. He's getting guys from Florida to come to Ohio. And that's amazing in itself. To get these kids out of SEC country to come play for Ohio State. But Ohio State has elevated their self to that upper echelon school. And he really was able to land all these athletes. I believe that year he beat Alabama and he beat Oregon. 2 perennial speed teams that Ohio State in previous years would not and did not beat. But that's what he's done. He has brought that to the game. He's brought that to the Big Ten. And right now, I mean, guys, I see Michigan State, I see Ohio State, and I see Michigan. Yeah, Michigan got a wake-up call. Michigan State went in there and drubbed Notre Dame. I'm not putting Notre Dame in the upper echelon teams, but it's a good football team, and it's hard. It's not an easy thing to go into South Bend and thump them, and that's exactly what Michigan State did. And they are playing better than the SEC is right now. Going through the course of the season, we'll see. Teams get better. They progress. They get identities. They do different things, and they get better, no doubt. But I'm really on. I think the Big Ten has caught up with the SEC. I believe it. The only SEC team that I see that's a dominator this year in all phases is Bama. That's all I've seen. And even they, against Ole Miss, saw vulnerabilities in the secondary. Just Saban called it easy, open eye plays, as he called it. Busted coverages, mental errors. They showed those vulnerabilities in the secondary. A defensive line still beasting it up, shutting down the run. But it's going to be interesting to see where Alabama's defense is as far as their back-end defense as they go through the year. Because I think that's a very cause for concern in Tuscaloosa right now. Because let's be honest, I mean, Ole Miss is the best team they faced. USC doesn't have anything. There's no question there. That was just a name, attractive game to watch in the beginning, but they really don't have a good team. So Ole Miss was really Alabama's first test. It was on the road. They look great on offense. You know, Jalen Hurts looks awesome. He looks great. Damian Harris, I believe is his name, the sophomore running back, has really established himself. He looked great too. Their running game looked good. It's not an offensive problem with Alabama. It's working on that back-end defense. So it's going to be interesting to see them go through the next coming weeks. You know, they got to go. It's always a tough game. Yeah, Tennessee isn't playing well right now, but that's going to be a tough one in a couple weeks when they go to Knoxville and see where they're at. Now, Sounds of Soso is just going to, I have some issues. I have some issues with Les Miles' press conference, and I'm going to give my take on both sides of the coin in terms of the LSU fans leaving, but did they have a right to leave? Seriously. You may say, Jameson, a right to leave? What? Well, I'll tell you what. LSU looked phenomenal in the first half. All right, look, there's no doubt about it. They look like the team on offense that we were looking to see. I personally was very impressed with Danny Etling spreading the ball around. That's something we have not seen. It was accuracy. He was spreading the ball around to different receivers. They were catching the football, weren't dropping it. I loved him going to the tight ends. Leonard Fournette even caught 4 balls out of the backfield. And you could see how that opened up lanes for Fournette. Speaking of Fournette, that was a hammer down he threw on that safety for Mississippi State. I mean, he just literally shoved this guy into the ground with his right arm. That was impressive. This guy, when he gets going, he is a beast. He is an animal. Good luck trying to stop him. He's an animal. When he gets out there and he's running downhill, you can forget about it. But it's just really LSU. They were able to separate to where he didn't have 4 or 5 guys keying on him because Etling was spreading it around. I'm a believer that if Etling were the quarterback against Wisconsin, LSU would have won that football game. I really am. He would have found a way to complete some passes. He would have. Probably wouldn't open it up anymore, but I think he would definitely completed enough passes to win the game for LSU. There's no question in my mind. This team is getting better. There's no doubt. But, again, the first 3 games have been a mediocre talent. And I think you're going to see how bad Wisconsin is this weekend. I think Michigan State's going to blow them out. So you're going to see the competition LSU's played is relatively mediocre. Auburn is a step up. They are 1-2. Auburn only winning is Arkansas State. It is a step up in competition. I believe Auburn's got better athletes. They look good against Clemson, who's a top 5 team. A&M exploited some weaknesses that I think I saw some holes in Auburn's game that A&M was able to exploit that I think LSU can really do well. Really do well. But will they do well remains to be seen. But going back to the game and the press conference, Les Miles coming out with the LSU fans need to stay 4 quarters. Now, I'm in agreement with Les. I am. For the first time in the history of Jamison Daigle with Les Miles being there, I actually agree with him. Which really makes me kind of like, what? But he's got a point. These kids at LSU, they depend on the fans. They thrive off of LSU fans. They really, really do. These are 18 to 20-year-old kids that depend on us to get to be in the games and to pull them through, to really pull these guys through. And we as fans need to support these players. All 4 quarters, 60 minutes. Stay there the entire game. We need to show them what we're about. We're behind them. We don't care what the score is. Who we're playing doesn't matter. They need our support. And I think you saw that is one of the reasons why Mississippi State, I'm a believer of this, why Mississippi State was able to come back. The crowd wasn't into it as much until State got back. People are left the game 23-3. Hey, let's just go ahead and head on out. And hey, look, you know what? I've done that before. Oh, I've done it before. I left early. I'm not gonna be this holier than thou person that tells you I've never left the LSU game early. No, I have. I've gone out tailgated, turned the game on the radio, just hung out with my friends. I've done it. And there's a lot of you out there that may say you don't do it, but you know that you do. And it's human nature to do that, though. When you don't think there's any more excitement, it's going to be a boring game. And let's be honest, fans, we know. We have sat through, this is Les Miles' 12th year. Majority of the years, particularly since 2011, we've seen shutdown city in the second half. What I mean by shutdown city is Miles decides to play peewee football offense and just run it straight at the middle, burn clock, no imagination, not do a thing we did in the first half to have the success we did. We're going to totally change the game. And I think this guy, I really do. I said this yesterday, and I'm a big believer in it, is I think Les Miles enjoys close games, and he wants it. And I think he wants it because he wants to keep the fans there. It's like it excites him or something. Like he has to have it. He can't put the hammer down. So, that's the other dynamic to the situation with LSU fans, is if we're not going to see any more excitement, if we know Miles is just going to play peewee football in the second half and there's no more excitement, there's no more halfback passes, there's no more reverses, there's no more passing. It's just straight run, Fournette left, Geis middle, Fournette right, Geis right, all that stuff. All just give it to the backs. Maybe sprinkle a 5-yard pass. It's boring football. It's boring. And as normal human beings, we want excitement. That's what we want. We don't want that stuff. So it's kind of a two-way street here. Yes, Les Miles wants us to stay, but come on, Les, give us some reason to stay. We want a continued assault on this Mississippi State defense. We want to see what we saw in the first half. Danny Etling ended up with 215 yards. There's no reason whatsoever this guy should not end up with 300 yards passing. He had 179 at halftime. So you're going to sit there and tell me, okay, that LSU did the same thing, 36 yards of passing? Seriously? You know, as an LSU fan, and I'm sure all the thousands that were there, 100,000 fans, were like, I don't want to sit through this. Defense is going to keep their domination. They're going to keep doing their thing. It's not going to be exciting. If we're around seeing exciting football and want to see those scores popping, guess what? Everybody's there. The defense is going to feed off the crowd. The offense isn't going to lose focus and fumble the football and do stupid stuff, make mental errors. Because it's like they're into the game because the crowd's there. The crowd's into it. They infuse this team. So what Les Miles needs to do is, look, you are absolutely right. We need to stay 4 quarters, but make it worth our while. We need excitement. We don't know. We don't want peewee football. As I've stated now the third time. Hate to repeat myself, but that's the way I feel. It's the way I feel, you know. And I think if he wants it interesting, hey, make it more interesting. That defense will thrive and they will shut Mississippi State down. The focus will be there. I think players, it's natural. They're going to lose their focus. Is it right? No. Is it the way you're supposed to play? No. Is it fact? Yes. And if they're excited, they see the crowd. If they see the crowd going, they're like, oh, man, they lose their focus. Like, let's just get through this and hell and out. Where's the excitement at? You know? So, just closing up my thoughts, you know, it's got to be a two-way street. You gotta bring excitement to keep the fans there, but the fans also need to support these players. Always be there, or you're going to see stuff like this happen again. And look, any other team other than maybe Kentucky and Vandy and Mississippi State, I think they would have beat LSU that night. I really do. Mississippi State didn't have any quarterbacks. They got 2 guys that are more read option, but they're not going to run read option in the fourth quarter with 2 minutes left. No timeouts. They're not going to do that. It's going to be straight passing. That's what you saw. LSU was able to pin their ears back, and Oregon Key got that sack there in the game. LSU took home the win, but that's what has to happen. It's got to be full throttle, keep the fans, and win some games, man. You know, win some games going away, especially against inferior teams like that. So, but positives stated yesterday: defense looked solid, looked great, got pressure on the quarterback, 5 sacks. defensive ends, Lewis Neal and Arden Key, look fabulous.